For this next project, you're going to be learning a little bit more about texture. You're going to be challenging yourself to draw something that's a little bit more realistic. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab this printout of 16 boxes and you're going to take them over to the tracer. You're going to trace each of these 16 boxes. Okay, so if you're ready to trace these squares, go on over to the tracer, grab a blank sheet of paper. You can also bring a ruler with you to kind of help you draw in some of these straighter lines here for these squares. You don't have to just try to freehand it. So you would grab a blank sheet of paper, those 16 squares on that printout. You would go on the tracer, turn it on all the way, use your ruler and kind of line it up with some of these edges here, and then also have a pencil with you, and you would just kind of follow the edges of the ruler. You would skip these gaps here and you would keep going, and that'll kind of help you draw some of these squares a lot quicker, a lot faster, so that you could use it for one of your projects. Okay, so once you have these lines that go in this direction, you could rotate your paper and draw the lines in the other direction. So let's say I have all these lines drawn in. Alright, so I have all these lines here that go vertical, and I could rotate my paper. I could leave my tracer there if I like. Keep using my ruler, line up my ruler with those edges. Line up my ruler, and then draw the lines the other way. Alright, and that kind of helps me draw these lines a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, and a little bit more accurate. Line up your marks with the ruler. Okay, and let's just say I have all my lines drawn in. So you would draw all those squares on the tracer, draw all 16, and then you could go ahead and use it for one of your projects or for one of your assignments. Once you have those 16 boxes, and each of these boxes you're going to draw a different texture. So we have 20 different textures here, and you're only going to pick 16 of them to go inside of these squares here. If you could think of other textures, if you want to look up other textures, you could do that too, but you could use this reference, you could use this resource as your textures for your 16 boxes. So you could pick any of them. You would take, again, your printout over to the tracer. Let's pretend that this is my printout here, and I would pick any 16. So I could just choose this one here, and in each of these boxes you would choose and you would start drawing what these textures look like. So each box is going to be a different texture. And again, this is a little bit more practice to kind of challenge yourself to be able to draw something that's a little bit more realistic, but also to be able to draw something that is replicating something else, and also to kind of give you a better idea of what texture is, right? So texture is something that kind of looks like it has a feeling to it, or that you can actually touch it. It could be fur, it could be something as abstract as this here. It doesn't have to be realistic, but it could look like that it actually has a feeling to it. Right, so you would just kind of copy some of these textures. Again, you're just copying them. You're not tracing them. You're using some of these as just a reference or a resource. Okay, so there's that one. You would keep working on that. Make sure that you fill up the whole square with a texture. This one I'm just kind of showing you how you would actually go through each of these. So this next one, maybe I'll choose this cracked one here, and you could replicate these as best as you want, or you could just do something that's similar, but try to fill up your whole square. Try to do something that is very similar to these textures that are on these references or on these resources here. So these cracks are a little bit wider, and that's what I'm replicating here. You could try to draw this exactly the way it is if you want, or you could do something that's pretty similar. Just make sure that you're filling up all these squares in the same way that these textures are drawn. Okay, and you would fill in your whole square. So again, I'm just kind of showing you how you would do this project. And again, we're practicing how to draw something that's a little bit more realistic, that actually looks like it has some feeling to it. And then maybe I might do this paved road here. So you would start maybe with the outline of these different colors of road. But then we would kind of go back and do those actual paving stones themselves. So this is that first wave. Then we have this wave up here. Just draw it in really lightly. And then you kind of come back and repeat some of these paved stones here. So texture is about repetition of different types of lines. Once you start repeating some of those lines, that starts to make it look more realistic. So something as basic as just a line can be repeated over and over and over and turn something into to look more realistic. Right, so these stones are white, and then these stones on this inner part here would be a lot darker. Right, so we have a different type of pavement here. Those even kind of look like bricks. So you could replicate that over here. And then you kind of offset each of these bricks here. So some of these bricks don't go straight up and down. Some of them do, some of them don't. So this first brick here kind of goes straight down, but then this next layer down below is offset just a little bit. And some of these spaces between these two different stones here, it's not just a line like I have, there's a gap, so you'd have to draw that gap in. Right, so we have to start being able to put something to make it look a little bit more realistic. So what can we do to do that is actually practicing how to do texture. You have to be able to challenge yourself. Okay, so again, I have about 4 of these almost halfway done, and then I would kind of keep repeating this over and over and over. Pick your 16 textures. If you don't want to do these textures, you could pick different textures. Just go ahead and show those to me before you start drawing those in on these different squares here. So if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And feel free to watch any of the other related videos.